welcome back to HealthSparx, featuring the brightest entrepreneurs and innovations in the health and technology arena. I'm Michael Walsh, your host. Welcome to another great show. I've got Geoff Fischer, the co-founder and CEO of Dealwell. It's a company here in Dallas that has just got launched here the past year. They've got this great website. I mean, it's kind of tough to explain it in a couple words, but the best way to describe it would be sort of a Priceline for healthcare. Just checking out the site now, and they've got daily deal type stuff going on for chiropractors, massages, dental, eye exams, LASIK, spa, treatment, weight loss management, clinics, all this type of stuff that you can go on there. You can bid, you can get great deals on all these services for healthcare. So excited to have Geoff on the show to chat all about what Dealwell's up to and how they got their start and kind of where they go from here. So stick around, it should be great. Before we get started, as always, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to the show right here on the website, or you can go to healthsparx.com/subscribe. This is just my way of delivering the episodes Tuesday morning to you as they post, instead of you guys always having to come back to the website. It'll be right in your inbox Tuesday morning waiting for you. So subscribe on the website. I promise I'm not going to spam you. That's not what I'm into. I just like to get the content to you. So check that out. As always as well, got to throw a shout out to my buddies over at Satori Tech Solutions. Had another great meeting with them this week, and I've actually been hooking up some of my friends, fellow entrepreneurs up with these guys that have been asking to start bidding out some of their projects for mobile or for websites or whatever it is they're doing. So happy to make introductions, guys. These guys are a great team. They'd be very excited to sit down with you and chat with you about whatever project it is that you might be working on, health, technology, or not. So get in touch. We'd be happy. All right, I think that's about it. Let's get started with today's show. Geoff Fischer, the co-founder and CEO of Dealwell. All right, today on HealthSparx, I've got Geoff Fischer, the co-founder and CEO of Dealwell. It's a company here in Dallas. Really excited to have Geoff here. I met Geoff a couple months back at a Health 2.0 meeting. Real interesting concept these guys are working on, so very excited to have him here to tell us all about it. So Geoff, my man, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks very much for having me, and let me take a minute to thank you for not only having us here and helping us spread the word, but for all the things that you've done in the Dallas community. I mean, you've been in Dallas how long?
It's been a year and a half now.
Year and a half, and you've made hundreds of connections for people, and I've seen you at 6 events, and I just really appreciate the work that you put in to help spread the word for a lot of little guys, and it means a lot.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's been a fun last 18 months for sure. Geoff and I were just chatting before we got started recording about how the weekends, Geoff's saying that he finally gets to take some time this weekend and just hang out, because most weekends we're running like crazy, we're networking, we're never off the clock. So yeah, it's crazy, man. Let's get started. Before we get into Dealwell, let's talk a bit about you. So I had a chance to spend some time here reading your bio before, and it's crazy some of the stuff you've been a part of to get where you are now. So run us through it.
Sure. Well, thanks. I've been working in digital media pretty much since it existed. My first computer was an Apple IIc, and I think I was in the second grade. And I used to manually manipulate my AutoExec bat and config sys files to stay under the 640K of memory. And so that's for the tech geek side of things. But I worked in digital media at the University of Chicago. Worked with on some very cool projects the professors were doing there.
Windy City.
I happened to, shout out to the South Side. Mm-hmm. I happened to work, I did an internship on Capitol Hill, and I worked on the very early stage website for the congresswoman that I worked for then. So I got to have telnet access to the house.gov servers, which was kind of interesting.
Cool.
I'm sure they don't allow that anymore.
Probably not.
And from there, I moved straight from college to San Francisco to just dive headfirst into the dot-com boom. And it was a crazy time. I worked at a very cool startup called People PC and had some wild experiences.
I remember those guys. I mean, what did they do?
Well, they were ahead of their time, but it was in the days when internet access through AOL was $24.95 a month, mm-hmm. and so they had this innovative model where they would lease you a computer and give you internet access for $20 a month. It was a 3-year term, but it was at a time when a lot of people couldn't afford the outright purchase of a computer. And so it was very democratizing and just a kind of a breakthrough business model that, like so many things at the time,
Yep.
we're a little bit ahead of their time.
Yeah. Well, and we're kind of that same way with health right now, right? All this stuff that we're doing, you bring it to some of these healthcare providers, and they look at you like, yeah, that makes perfect sense, and it seems really new to them, but it's stuff that's been going on in other industries for years and years. It's just finally catching up to healthcare, right?
Yeah. I mean, the state of healthcare it's that healthcare is just so far behind the times, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the quick finish is that after San Francisco, I moved up to Seattle, and I worked for almost 10 years at the MSN division of Microsoft. And I got to be involved in some of the coolest projects that they worked on from the MSN entertainment side of things. We did websites for Access Hollywood and The Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then we did the first season website for American Idol back before it was anything. And then I moved on to sports and ran the sports business in the U.S. And so we had partnerships with FoxSports.com and with NBCOlympics.com. And so we partnered with NBC and did the official websites for Beijing and Vancouver. Those were the first games that NBC had the rights to put every minute of competition footage online. And they came to Microsoft to help them out with that technical challenge. And I was tapped to lead that team. And up until coming into the world of entrepreneurship, it was the most invigorating project of my career.
That's incredible, man. I mean, even today, still, you can probably still see traces when you go watch the Olympics of what you did, right?
Well, absolutely. And just the enormity of the challenge it was about 18 months before the games, and they came to us and they told us that a container ship was leaving in 3 months, and we had to have any piece of equipment that we wanted to be in that server room, we had to have on that container ship. So
you got 90 days, make it happen.
Yeah, and then before and during the games, there were 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. conference calls. Every day we had teams in New York, on the West Coast, and in Beijing, and it was intense, and it was time limited. Not like some of the things that we do, where if you slip a date, you slip a date. Literally, the world was watching, and it's amazing what those kind of deadlines can do for teamwork and for just getting it done.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so again, incredible bio that Geoff brings to this table for Dealwell, and he's seen a lot, he's been through a lot, both in the digital world and just kind of out there getting after it as well. So a natural fit to jump into entrepreneurship. So let's talk about Dealwell.
Yeah.
What is Dealwell, and what was sort of the breadcrumb trail of how this came to exist?
Absolutely. Well, Dealwell is the first website where you can price shop, comparison shop, and get great deals on health and wellness services. So you type in your zip code and you choose your service, whether it's an eye exam, teeth cleaning, even an MRI, or some of the wellness services and elective services, a teeth whitening, a massage, a spa treatment, and we give you a page and show you the price and the offerings at 10 or 15 or 20 providers near you. And we have negotiated discounts in advance with all these providers. So you're guaranteed to save at least 20% off the retail price. And you buy the service directly online from us. And you get a certificate that you take with you to the provider. That's your proof of purchase.
So, but it's also got this concept of bidding as well,
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Absolutely. And so every offer has a buy now price. And then you have the chance to bid for even more savings. And the providers have the ability behind the scenes to raise or lower the price that they're willing to accept. And it's the kind of thing that if their books are lighter one week, they may lower the price to encourage more traffic and fill those open slots.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I know I botched it the first time I met you guys, but it's one of those things where it's not quite a daily deal site, but it's not quite completely Priceline type either. It's sort of a hybrid of the two for this niche part of the market.
It is absolutely. It's a hybrid of multiple proven internet models.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, how it came to be and how healthcare is lagging behind. Obviously, there's the Stephen Brill article, and there's another one every week about the lack of price transparency in the health space.
Oh, totally.
It's mid 20th century market. It's a mid 20th century marketplace that in the health and wellness category, whereas every other industry, it seems, starting in the late 90s, was revolutionized by the internet.
Right.
Think about the way in 1985 you would have bought a plane ticket, bought insurance, booked a rental car, bought a house, and all those industries have changed. There are websites you go to find out how much all those things cost. And it just seems crazy that in this day and age, that hadn't yet been brought to the health and wellness category. And so that was the market need that we saw. And then we started to do some research. 1 in 6 Americans, as of 2012, had an HSA or an FSA plan. And when you add to that the number of Americans that have high deductible health plans, you have a significant marketplace of consumers that are spending their own money now on these services. And they need information. They need to be empowered to make good choices and to make that money go as far as it possibly can.
Now, for someone like me, for those listening who may have never heard of this HSA thing, I hope you have, but if you haven't, I have one of these as well. It's a health savings account, and it really bodes well for someone like me who I very rarely get sick. I'm very rarely ever in a hospital, or I've got very low prescription costs. So what it allows me to do is to get one of these high deductible plans through any number of insurers offer these now, and actually contribute towards this HSA account on my own with cash and pay for stuff like what's on Dealwell. So it really is a great opportunity for people out there that are taking control of spending money on their own healthcare services to take advantage of these cost savings now, as opposed to before where there just wasn't anything like this. So one thing I want to ask you, because I know this has come up, I know there's a natural sort of hesitancy with something like this. Like, I'm not sure if I want to buy healthcare online. Like, it seems like such a people-to-people business. So, I mean, what do you say to those folks when they sort of push back and say, I don't know if I'm really ready to buy health online? Like, I'm comfortable buying an airplane ticket, but maybe not a dental exam.
Well, look, I think there's a certain generation, and there's a certain generation that'll buy anything online.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I've thought about it like this, that there's certain things that I'm willing to buy on my PC that I wouldn't necessarily buy on my phone, but 20-somethings, recent college graduates would buy a plane ticket on their phone. They would buy, anything on their phone. And so at some level, I think it's just the way that the world is right now. But there are certainly a number of things that we do on the site to help people feel confident about these providers that we have on the site. So every provider that's on the site has been vetted. We've confirmed their certifications with the relevant state boards, and we list those on the site. And number 2, we have reviews on the site from consumers. And we only allow people who have purchased the service through Dealwell to write the reviews. So it's not just an open forum and anybody can come in and kind of write something willy-nilly. So we take steps like that so that there's a confidence level of the providers that we're willing to put on the site.
All right. So when did this launch? How long has this been going?
It's hard to believe, but the site's been live now for a little bit over a year, and we've started from 50 offers on the site to now we have 9 major categories. We have almost 200 providers across the Dallas Metroplex, and we have more than 900 offers on the site right now.
So is the thought that, again, build this in Dallas and sort of start to expand this out maybe through Texas? Or?
Absolutely. So we're currently seeking our first round of outside investment, and that investment will enable us to go to, we're looking at both Houston and Austin as our next natural markets. There's some nice savings that come in a lot of ways by staying in one state.
Sure.
And then once we prove that the model scales, then we look to take it to the coast.
So who's the other? You've got some other founders that are involved with this.
Yes.
We've talked about this before.
My co-founder James Webb runs a series of medical-related businesses here in the Dallas area. Preferred Imaging is probably the best-known company. It's a chain of MRI imaging centers, and but there's a number of other companies that they run. There are pain management centers. There's a laboratory and a pharmacy, but they're all retail, brick and mortar, healthcare related businesses.
Yeah.
And Dealwell is the first online only venture for this group.
Was this completely funded by some of these other companies? Like, how did this get its start?
Yes, So the initial funding that's gotten us to where we are has come from Preferred Medical, and as I said, we're now seeking our first round of outside investment. We've proven the concept. We have started to invest in some pretty serious marketing efforts here. But we're looking for outside investment that'll enable us to go open 2 markets.
Well, that's a good segue. So I'm curious with something like this, because it is such a hybrid of some different types of platforms, how have you guys been marketing this? Where have you seen the most success with getting this out into the community? I mean, I know, I just want to point out, I remember I sent you a picture. I got a mailer once.
Yes.
That was a great thing to see. I'm like, I got something in the mail from Dealwell. Hey, go check these preferred providers out.
Yeah.
So what's working?
Well, the answer is, and I guess on the one hand this is obvious, but even to myself at the beginning, I don't know that it was. And so for the sake of folks that are listening, there is no magic bullet.
No.
There's not just one thing that you're going to do and then ride the coattails of that and then do a couple other things just to dally. You're not going to build your business just on SEM. You're not going to build your business just on SEO. And so, of course, we're doing those things and doing them aggressively and always experimenting with the next thing, whether it's content ads, whether it's remessaging. Honestly, there's so many tools out there that you really have to pick and choose and prioritize.
Sure.
But as you noted, we've also not been able to just do online. We've expanded to do some of the traditional offline things. We've been on the radio. We bought radio time here. We did the direct mail piece. We even had a billboard on the tollway. And we've been doing a number of kind of more guerrilla things, so to speak. We've handed out coupon cards outside the AAC. We've been at malls. We've been downtown and at DART stations. So it has been a little bit of everything. And you see what works, and you do more of that, and you figure out what isn't working, and you do less of that.
Any interesting stories thus far as you guys have gotten out there to do some of these guerrilla type tactics? I mean, people coming up to you and saying weird things, or getting
no,
anything like that.
I mean, to be honest, when people hear about Dealwell, that they're receptive to it, they're excited about it, and so if anything, I just wish we could. There were other ways to just spread the word more quickly. But have we been kicked out of a mall or two? Yeah. But really
you guys got to go.
Yeah. No, that's happened.
It's a good point to bring up for people listening as well, because anything in health and technology right now is going to require a little bit of hand-holding for people because of how just behind healthcare is. Mm-hmm. So it's a great thought to keep in mind as other entrepreneurs are out there thinking about launching products or going through their marketing strategy. You can't build a digital product in healthcare and just sit in a digital realm. You still have to get out there and put a face to it, because that's what people are still kind of used to, especially on the provider side of things. Like, that's what they're accustomed to. So great to hear that you guys are sort of incorporating that into your plan.
Well, look, and there's no question that there are brand names in the health space that help us. So we recently signed Floss Dental to be a provider, and so that's a name that people recognize. If you live in certain neighborhoods in Dallas, you get their direct mail cards, multiple times a month. And we were able to go to them and convince them that for a fraction of what they spend on one of those single mailings, that they could work with us, and that we could help efficiently.
On the website and
and there's no doubt that frankly that their brand on our website probably helps us a little bit too.
Right.
So it's a two-way street in terms of the credibility that brands bring. Another thing I wanted to go back, Michael, and talk about was we talked briefly about the daily deal sites. And so I wanted to just, explain how we're differentiated from daily deal sites.
Right.
Because yes, you do see a teeth whitening offer on one of those sites or, something like that. But the way they work is that their offers, are good for a week. And let's say you've got a wedding to go to, you want to get teeth whitening, you buy the thing, and then the place has gotten so flooded by business that you can't get the appointment before the event that you're going to, right?
I've done that.
Now, they also tend to have one location. It's out all the way in Saxe, and you're getting a great price, but
not convenient.
Not convenient. So on Dealwell, every offer that we have on the site, you're guaranteed a choice of providers. If you're looking for teeth whitening right now, we probably have 30 different offers for teeth whitening on the site. And it's a choice of providers not only geographically, but it's also across the spectrum of, are you looking for the best value? Are you looking for a little bit of a luxurious experience or something in between? We're going to have that choice on the site.
Perfect.
The offers are available 24/7, 365 when you need them. They don't expire off of our site. There's no kind of forced external time crunch that we're trying to pressure you into buying.
So once you buy it, I mean, what's from the provider side of things? What are they set for the timeline?
Yes, no, that is fair to say that there is a
you can't come in 5 years
date,
later.
Right. There is a validity date on the certificate, and each offer clearly states its validity period from the time you buy it. But it's not like the floss dental teeth whitening offer is going to disappear off the site next week.
Right.
It's going to be on the site. And then the final piece, and some people kind of laugh when I say this, but I don't think it's trivial, is the fact that on those daily deal sites, your health and wellness offer is going to be located right next to an offer for jumping out of an airplane and an offer for a cheap movie ticket and whatever else they're kind of cramming in because they need to keep cramming in deals.
Right.
And we only do health and wellness. We take it seriously. As I stated before, we vet our providers before we work with them, and we're invested with them for the long haul. And we think that that's an important differentiation and a reason that people will hopefully think of Dealwell.com as their go-to site for health and wellness purchases.
Yeah, I'm glad you explained that because that's certainly true. I've run into that and the same thing too, where you do buy something and it expires and you're sort of left holding it. And a lot of places will at least honor the fact that you contributed money towards it and give you the dollar value.
Right.
But I've had situations where they won't.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, you paid $20 for a $40 something and it expired, and now you're just out your $20, and that sucks.
Yeah.
That's not fun for anybody.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, next steps for Dealwell. We're raising some money.
Yep.
We're thinking about expanding geographically. I'm curious, any other services that you're wanting to bring to the site here that you guys are targeting?
Well, look, there's a number of the site right now has a nice balance of elective and non-elective services.
Sure.
So with dental, chiropractic, vision, and then we have massage and med spa treatments and cosmetic surgery. We've definitely been eager to get into the urgent care space and the more kind of traditional health space. And we've also had a lot of success recently. So about 2 months ago, for our higher end procedures, Invisalign, LASIK, bariatric, cosmetic surgery, we've introduced this concept of free consultations where you may not be willing to plunk down $4,000 on LASIK surgery just by seeing an offer on the site. You're going to want to see that doctor, his facilities.
That goes back to that whole hesitancy type deal,
yeah,
right?
You're going to want to ask questions and make sure that the procedure's right for you. And so what we've done is that we've launched the ability for you to claim a free consultation through Dealwell.com. And when you do that, you have no risk, no obligation. You go in, but you're guaranteed to get the Dealwell price for that service should you decide to move forward.
Right.
And so we have had a huge success with that free consultation functionality, and that is leading us, at the same time that we want to add urgent care and some basic things, it's leading us to go look at other categories with the bigger ticket items, which will do more from a free consult point of view than from a direct sale point of view.
Well, yeah, and again, it's such a people bit. I get that. That's a great function because you want to go meet the doc, you want to go meet whoever it is that's going to do the service. So.
And look, the providers love it too. The providers get it's obviously a lot easier for us to send them 8 free consult patients than it is for us to try and sell sight unseen their services, and the docs are happy to have people come in the door, and they stand, they feel good that they are going to be able to convince the patients, if the service is right for them, to do it there.
Sure.
We're also working on functionality on the site, right? It's a website. It's not just a store that you open for business and you just kind of stand there and wait for people to come in.
Paint some walls, throw some stuff up.
Yeah, I mean, I wish day one you open the site and then you're constantly trying to figure out what to add, what to do differently. We've just actually started adopting a mentality of slightly longer release cycles, and by slightly longer I mean weeks, not months. But we've taken on some bigger features rather than the incremental approach where we were doing 2 and 3 releases a week for quite a long time. So we just finished a project where we added the kind of somewhat obvious functionality of being able to buy more than one of an offer at a given time.
Sure.
And it was just a quirk of the way we had designed the database on day one, where there were a lot of one-to-one mappings.
Yeah.
And so it ended up being quite a lot of work to go back and fix that and change it to one-to-many. But we took the time, we did it, and now there's a quantity drop-down on the payment page. And I know this kind of, on the one hand, sounds boring to people, but these are the real decisions that you have to make as a entrepreneur, as a manager of a tech project. Is it better to make small cosmetic improvements, or does it make more sense to take the time and do a very unsexy, very behind-the-scenes kind of feature? And we have to do that kind of priority, severity, and benefit analysis, and that's what came out.
And it goes back to the same thing we talked about with marketing. There is no right answer to that question. It's just
absolutely not.
You just got to sort of feel it out with what your customers and your users are telling you, and do your best to put together a plan that can kind of satisfy everybody involved.
And so now we've moved on to addressing the fact that for a long time we have not had a different experience on a phone or a tablet versus on the PC. And that's largely been at my insistence, that it was so much more important to fix other things and add other things to the site, despite everyone saying, "Oh, do you have an app? Do you have an app?" And I just fought that. I felt that was such a faddish thing to say. But we've now gotten to the point where, the numbers don't lie. From our Google Analytics, we can see the percentage of users that are coming in on the devices. And you start to read the press about what the percentage of Groupon purchases that are being made from mobile devices, and so that's kind of our current sort of longer project. And we've chosen to implement responsive design, and so we've got to go back and update all of the CSS. There's 35 page templates or something on this site, and don't ask me how we got that complicated, because I am such a fan of simplicity and standardization and templates. But hopefully by the end of next week or so, we'll start to see responsive design on our site.
Well, without even doing it, he just gave you some great advice, people. Like, when you're building your projects out, it's good practice to be thinking about that. Like, what's that mobile user going to want, and can you keep things responsive on your website or on your platform, so that maybe you can save yourself a little bit of time later on from having to go through 35 CSS templates and fixing it all. So good advice already. Before I even get into asking him for advice, it's good advice. So let's finish up with that. So Great stuff about Dealwell, but let's talk a little bit about, real quickly, some of the things you guys have gone through and some of the lessons that you've learned. What advice do you have for people out there right now? I mean, like we talked about, lots of opportunity in health and technology right now. Mm-hmm. We're very behind. We need innovation. We need new products and services. What can we tell people to kind of maybe expect or to avoid when they go out there and try to launch these projects of theirs?
Well, what to expect is that natural tendency of this quirky industry to reject innovation, and to even in the face of all of the evidence that in every other industry we're moving in this direction, and the clamor that in the journalistic and in public arenas for that innovation.
Yeah.
So expect resistance. but forge ahead, build the proof of concept, build the site, build the model, find a provider or a partner that is willing to take the leap, and even on the smallest scale, get that proof of concept up there, and you'll start to open doors, and it really is an incremental, just like there's no magic bullet in marketing. It's an incremental approach, and it's a one step at a time. Break it into a list and just break it down to its most fundamental steps, and try and execute against that.
Spoken from a true expert, people. I mean, that's great advice. Super excited for Dealwell. I love the concept. Every time I talk to you, every time we get together, I learn more about it, and very anxious to see where you guys are 365 days from now, because I have a feeling you guys are going to just be crushing it. Thank you so much for being part of the show and sharing all this great advice. This is great.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. Thanks again for providing the venue and for making the connections. And I look forward to meeting some of the folks listening to this, and hearing the feedback that you guys have about us. Always open to that, and we've certainly gotten some great feedback at the Health 2.0 events and some of the other meetups that we've done. So thank you, and if anyone has feedback for us, be sure to shoot it out our way.
Okay, and that is it from Geoff and I. Excellent advice from Geoff during today's show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Really liked the part where he started talking about what he's working on with the responsive stuff on the website, and kind of going back and going through some of that, and even the one-to-one mapping and all that stuff. Guys, this is important that you think about this at the very beginning. Not to say that Geoff and them did it wrong, but it's a good thing to be building into the plan up front when you're thinking about it, because it could save you a lot of time later. So great advice from Geoff as far as what Dealwell's had to go through, and things that they're thinking about right now. And it's stuff that we all need to be thinking about as health and technology entrepreneurs. It's important stuff to create a great user experience for our people, because we want them to use this stuff. We want them to stop relying upon the old techniques. We want them to be happy when they get here. So think about that when you're building your projects. Keep things user-friendly. Think about making it mobile, because like Geoff said, that's where people are. I think that's about it for today's show. A couple quick reminders as always. Make sure you subscribe on the website. Go to healthsparx.com/subscribe. We're getting some conversations going on Twitter. Use the hashtag HealthSparx. Let's ask some questions. Let's start sharing more information about other cool startups. Always looking for guests for the show. Go to healthsparx.com/guests if you want to apply to be a guest on the show and come and join me and chat about your awesome startup idea, your product that you're just getting ready to launch, or maybe you're one of these people who just has been around the industry forever and has some great stuff to share, like Lori Ann Rickard a couple weeks ago. She was a healthcare lawyer. Check that episode out. She had some great stuff to share. So if you're one of those people, I'd love to have you on the show as well. Bring it on. So I hope everybody's having a great week so far. Looking forward to next week's show. Until then, I'm your host, Michael Walsh. We'll talk to you soon.